Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's that time of year again. Everybody's favorite aspect of this channel, the MLB season, is ready to take off. We're going to start this season off with 6 different videos going over each division, just going over the projections of the divisions and seeing what the leagues are kind of shaping up to be. This is Alice's first time experiencing a full MLB season, and well, as you see, the Jays are kind of projected to be 5th. So will she enjoy the misery of a Blue Jay fan with her father first season? We're excited to do that. So let's jump into it. But first, let's just toss her out of here. All right, so just quickly before we jump into the American League East here, I just want to say off the top, this is a new kind of format I'm trying this season. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe to the video, or even if you're coming back, like and subscribe. If we do hit 1,500 subs by the end of March, I'm going to be doing 6 of these videos. I'm going to do a prediction video of what I actually predict. This is not the video. And I'm going to maybe do a couple other ones. And of course, throughout the season, we've got power rankings and other fun stuff. So if you are into that kind of stuff, like and subscribe. We do giveaways. I'm doing an early season 1,500 subs if we can hit it. And this might be your best chance to win if you are, because we got some sleeper subs who probably might not come back, etc., etc. But let's jump into it. We're going to start here at the bottom with my team, the Toronto Blue Jays. And guys, last year they finished 74 and 88, and it was a really, really rough season, even as a Jays fan. Throughout the whole season, I really thought there was going to be a chance that they would make the playoffs. There was glimmers of hope and stuff like that, but it just did not come together. The 2025 projection, according to Fangraphs, is 82 and 80, so above 500 season, but it's not going to be enough to really cut and move them up the standings. Realistically, they would be tied with Tampa Bay, but there is a lot of concerns around this Blue Jays team. And if you're a Blue Jays fan or just kind of an outsider looking in, you probably hear about Vladdy Guerrero, how that all went down before the spring training started. He had told them, gave them a deadline to make pretty much a contract extension, and they did not get it. And he said he would not negotiate throughout the season once spring training started. And if he is a man of that word, this pretty much might be the last little bit we are going to see Vladdy as a Toronto Blue Jay. And as a fan, maybe even as an outsider, I would think if Vladdy leaves this team is in a lot of trouble. On top of that, we have Bo Bichette in his last year on contract. He's had a few injuries last year, was not his best season. And him and Vladdy are really good friends. They've been kind of brothers throughout growing up on this team, and seeing them both potentially go out. But coming into this season, they pretty much only had one big signing, Anthony Santander. Taking him away from the Orioles, I guess, is a bonus to the team that they are going to be chasing. So that's going to be a little bit of a bonus there. I don't think he is really going to be the guy to make a difference in this offense. Offense was a big struggle last year, but adding one extra piece going to be important. Big thing for me, George Springer. Someone like him, can he have a better season than last year? That's what we're going to need for the Blue Jays to make some steps forward. He is aging, and I have pitching on here as one of the issues for the Blue Jays. As we see, Scherzer is their signing, 4th in the rotation, but we have 4 guys on this rotation, maybe heading into the later parts of their 30s, maybe on the tail ends of their career, with Gausman, Berrios, and Bassett. So a little bit concerning. Pitching was pretty much disastrous for the Blue Jays, especially the bullpen last year. They had pretty high ERA overall as a team for starters that ate up a lot of innings. Don't see that very often, so that's a big concern. On the positive prospect side of it, we're going to see how the trades of Kikuchi and all that in the trade deadline last year went. Will Wagner, Will Perfido, and maybe we might see Jake Bloss come up somewhere throughout the season. So that's what you see for the Blue Jays. Going to be a rough season, and we could very well, if they have a rough start, see a much, much lower number than this, because trade deadline, they have a lot of pieces that teams going for the playoffs are going to be interested in. Guerrero, Bichette, we got the pitchers I already touched on, so that's going to be interesting. Moving on, number 4, Tampa Bay, and I'm going to be honest with you guys off the top here. This is one of the teams I'm not super confident in when I'm really giving my analysis about them. They went 80 and 82 last year. In my opinion, kind of exceeded where they were going. Again, 82 and 80, and when I'm looking at their roster, I don't know how necessarily they get to that number. We're going to see in the AL East that it's very tight all across the board, and mainly it's probably because these teams are going to be beating up on each other all season long. I think Kevin Cash says it best with the Tampa Bay Rays, and probably what's going to set them apart from some of the other teams in this division is this rotation, is their pitching, and that's just been Tampa Bay Rays day in and day out for many, many, many years. It just seems to be their system, brings out pitchers. McClanahan, he's going to be coming back from injury after missing pretty much all last year, and we're going to see how that goes. Taj Bradley, he's going to try to see if he can take a few steps forward, and the depth of this pitching goes on. Kevin Cash does say they have 6 solid guys competing for that solid starting spot. So that's going to probably be what sets them into some good wins. And of course, we all know wins come from pitching. Caminero, he is a guy that I don't know a lot about, and I was reading a bit about him in preparation for this video. It's going to be his first full season, and while he's had stints in the past 2 years and they've looked good, it's always a different ballgame when you make a step forward. So he's going to be pretty important because the offense is what's been holding the Tampa Bay Rays team back, especially last year. Can he make an impact? He's going to be in one of those key spots in their lineup. And then we got Diaz on the other side, who was a Silver Slugger a couple of years back. Last year, he had a slow start, and he never really got things going. So if these two guys can be pretty impactful in the middle of this lineup, we could have a pretty sneaky Tampa Bay Rays team, which I'm excited to kind of see where they go. Danny Jansen, I have him up here, just mainly ex-Blue Jay, as well as signing a 1-year contract. It's very interesting because they are going to be playing outdoors. Tropicana is closed for the season because of the hurricane. They're going to be playing at George Steinbrenner Stadium, which is kind of hilarious. But Tampa Bay playing outdoors, that's going to be different because that may be part of the reason why their pitching is always so good. Moving on to number 3 here, we got the Orioles, who went 91-71 last year, a 90-win team. Faltering first round of the playoffs against the Royals, a little iffy there, and if we kind of take away the first 2 months of last year, they are not a 90-win team. And 2025 does have them dropping 8 wins down to 83-79, and maybe that is optimistic, but they do have a solid offense. It looks like they do on paper. They have 5 first-rounders in their batting lineup, at least their projected batting lineup, 5 first-rounders. That's pretty impactful. Jackson Holliday, he's looking pretty good in spring training. We're probably not going to see the struggles that we saw him have early last year. Of course, for everything, they lose Santander, they bring in O'Neill. Maybe not too much of a big difference there in terms of the offense side of things. But for the Orioles, taking an 8-win total back, we all know what it's about. It's about their starting rotation. Means, Burns, gone. They leave in free agency. Means goes to Cleveland. Burns goes to Arizona. And then just a couple days ago, maybe it was yesterday or the day before, Grayson Rodriguez looks like he's going to be out at least for a little while. Was it elbow, shoulder, throwing arm soreness at the very least, and he's not going to be there to start things off. Basallo, number 1 prospect in the Orioles organization. I'm not sure if there's really room on this roster for him to come up just yet, but we might see this guy come up May-ish, and he's one of the top prospects across the entire MLB, let alone that Orioles farm system. I don't know much about him personally. We have tons of Orioles fans. Leave a comment in the comments letting us know about him. Sugano, signed from Japan, so I guess that's the addition they make to the rotation. I haven't followed him at all in spring training. Don't know what he's about, but he is slotting into that, I think, 4th spot on the rotation. So those are the big things for Orioles. It's going to be about pitching. Can their offense be consistent? Can they score up the runs? That's going to be what's important. But 83-79, borderline. It's only 1 win above being potentially last place in this division. Number 2, moving up to potentially 85-77 after a 500 season. Boston, I think, surprised a ton of people last year, myself included. Did not project. I think I projected them last year going into the season, but they came in and had a very good 3rd place season. Had a chance, I think, to make a run at the playoffs. About halfway through the season, they were definitely in contention, but they kind of faltered off, and I think that was rightfully so. This was a very young team last year, and they remain quite young on a roster all around. Their pitching just wasn't there last year, and a lot of it had to do with injuries. But I think they addressed some of that interesting stuff. So the Giolito, while he was already on this team, he was injured for last year, so he's going to be coming back. Garrett Crochet massive signing, massive trade, I guess, was the realistic thing. He comes in there, and they also bring in Walker Buehler, who I'm not sure about. He didn't have like a great season coming back from injury last year, but now that he's had time, he's going to ramp up in spring training. Haven't watched him, but that's interesting. Those are three staples into the rotation that potentially can make a massive, impactful difference. They do address some relief as well, and it's kind of up in the air right now who's going to be the closer of the Boston Red Sox. It seems like a big debate. I think there's other guys on top of this, but Chapman and Hendricks both come in, 10-year vets, and those guys coming in the bullpen I think is going to make a massive thing. Boston's going to be one of those teams that they're always in it, guys. This team is not afraid to spend money. We saw they bring in Alex Bregman. This is, I think, the story that I'm most interested in. How is Bregman going to do? They're talking about him shifting over to second base because, of course, you got Devers on the hot corner. So how's Bregman going to fit in there with Devers? They got Duran, who had a massive season last year. He's at top of this lineup. So they have a very solid lineup and young guys and young talent. So Boston, I think, is one of those up-and-coming teams. And New York's got to be worried because these two teams always battle. While New York went 94 and 68 last year, it seems like the rest of the division is probably better than last year. I feel Boston's better. Baltimore maybe not better, but I would say Baltimore is better because all those young guys, all those number one prospects have a full season under their belt, have playoffs under their belt. They know what it's like to be a major. I think that is a net win for the Baltimore Orioles, even though win-wise not going to be there. Toronto probably a little bit better than last year, and Tampa Bay, the same thing going. So New York has their win total drop, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Of course, you're playing your division so much. Garrett Cole, he's down. He looks like maybe down for the season at this point. Who knows at this point? But that's going to be a big question mark and a big, big hurt to the New York Yankees. They did sign Max Fried, which is a massive signing in the offseason. And you would have loved to see Max Fried and Garrett Cole. This would have really cemented the Yankees as a top-tier team in this division. But with the loss of Garrett Cole, I have a lot of concerns. We have Will Warren. I don't know much about him, but he is one of their top prospects, one of the top prospects in the league as a pitcher. He seems to be slotting into that fifth starting role right now, and we'll see how that impacts. You love seeing young guys come up into the MLB. They usually can be somewhat dominant before a lot of people get to know them. On the other side, they did bring in some other bats. They bring in Goldie for a one-year deal. My opinion, potentially bridging over to see Vladdy move up into New York next year. Wouldn't be surprised. They bring in Bellinger in a trade with the Cubs. Don't think these guys really move the needle too much for the Yankees. They lose people like Rizzo, right? And it's kind of like Goldie for Rizzo. At this point in Goldie's career, it seems kind of like a wash. But there you guys have it. There's a little bit of a breakdown of how the projections are going into this season. Let me know what you guys think. What did I possibly miss on one of these teams that is super important into the ongoing season? I'm going to be doing 6 of these videos, 1 for each division, so I'm going to kind of keep them kind of short. But feel free to keep the discussion going in the comments. We also have the Discord that is constantly rolling, talking about baseball. So feel free to join that if you just want to keep talking baseball. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. We will see you for that next video.